All right. That's what we do. We hold our breath.
All right, all right, all right.
Pass out.
Right.
How to make a podcast. Step 1, hold your breath.
Step 2, hit the floor.
Step 3, have somebody revive you. So how you guys been? It's been, what, 2 weeks? Did we do something last week?
I thought
we have the
last
week
week
off?
was the skip or was the week before?
No, I think it was the week before. Last week we did do something, and this week we're recording a couple days late.
Oh, that's
Which
right.
is fine.
Yeah.
Which
That's
is okay.
fine. Yeah, last week was Apple lockdown
Yes.
coming.
Yes.
But what's interesting about that is that I got a text from Julie Lerman, who's a friend of all of ours.
We love Julie.
It was actually on Facebook, so I took a picture and sent it to you guys. And she says, sharing with friends who are on Apple. There's a major hacking attempt happening, and you might get an unexpected text or email from Apple asking you to confirm that it is indeed you that is trying to change your password.
Mm-hmm.
I got both. Many friends around the world in my community of very technically savvy people are also getting them. The email and text will come from Apple, but some nefarious bot is causing Apple to think you are changing your password. So just delete the email and the text and don't respond because you don't want to let Apple give the evildoers permission to change the password on your Apple account.
Mm-hmm.
People in our company have been getting text messages from me, supposedly. And not sounding like me at all.
Wow.
So they've been caught, and everybody's like, yeah, that's not Patrick. So it's all out there.
But you're right. I use an iPhone as well, and I received the same thing. Same pop-up saying, hey, is this you trying to reset your password?
So,
Disregard it if you're not the one resetting your password.
career criminal advice here. If you're going to imitate somebody, you should at least know their mannerisms. Like if it was me, I would say, hey, dude.
Right?
So
Right.
there you go. You know,
What?
speaking of career criminal advice,
Yes.
next week we're going to unveil the career criminal advice theme music.
Oh, yes! We
Yes.
need theme music.
Yes, especially for that segment.
That's what I've been saying.
Is it the Empire? Dun, 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 dun.
no,
Hey,
no.
you can't
Just a little
preview it.
stinger.
No.
Yeah,
That's
no.
awesome. That's awesome. No, that's
Awesome,
very cool.
awesome,
So, some career criminal advice might be this. If you're going to send out messages from the CEO of a company to all the employees trying to engage them, don't do it to an offensive security company. Because our guys constantly been like, okay, yeah, what do you need? And we're getting to the point where we're engaging with these guys, and we'll set up a honeypot. And when they ask for stuff, we'll tell them they need to click on a link, and then we'll see where they are. We'll see where they're coming from.
It's been a while since we defined honeypot. A honeypot is like what you would do if you put a pot of honey out. You would attract what?
Pooh Bear. Oh,
Pooh
yeah,
Bear.
bees.
Bears.
Bees. Yeah. Stingers.
It's the same type of thing.
Did you guys see that meme that was going around Facebook where somebody put like a full-length mirror up against a tree in the woods?
Yes.
And then set a camera and a bear came along and he's just lumbering along. And then he looks at the mirror and he freaks out. And he jumps past the mirror like, there's a bear on the other side. And he turns like, what? And he turns around and then he freaks out again. And he finally ends up ripping the mirror down.
It's
and,
an
like,
invisible
stamping on it.
bear.
It's the best.
And he's as big as me.
What I like about that meme, though, is that it reminds you that, okay, this bear might be big and strong and, could rip you in half. However, it's pretty dumb.
Well, or he's scary enough to scare himself. So-
Yeah. Well, yeah.
Oh, so much fun. All right, what are we
That's
talking about
awesome.
this week, guys?
Oh, a bunch of things.
I think we're going to start off with online programming IDEs.
Yes.
So we've all used these, right? So
They're great.
Patrick, both Patrick, Carl, and I, all three of us started off programming probably before there were
both three of us.
all both three of us.
Now, all right, now we need to slow down a little bit. An IDE is a what?
An integrated development environment.
Right, so it's a
Carl.
program that you use to write code to
Right.
compile into programs or websites. Yeah, it's the program that you use to write programs.
It's a programming environment, yeah.
So there these online ones that you can just go to a website and start writing code. And what's wrong with this idea?
Which sounds awesome, right? I mean, when we
Turns
were
out
when we
it is
were
pretty
well,
awesome.
yeah,
Just think for a second, what would Dwayne do with such a device? So it allows you to write code that's not
And
on
run
your
code.
platform, that's not traceable back to your IP address without a lot of work,
Right.
and you can run the code. What could go wrong?
and you
Yeah,
can
see.
host files, so you can put up, say, executables if you wanted to.
And you don't have to sign in, right? So you could like go through a
Nope.
VPN or DuckDuckGo, and nobody would know who you are, and you could write a
Yep.
little script that goes into a tight loop and completely does a denial of service attack against somebody.
Sure, absolutely, yeah.
I mean, this one's not about Microsoft's, but Microsoft has Jupyter notebooks and things like that you can go online to do programming of various things.
Right.
As does Google and IBM, many of the others. This isn't the first time. This isn't going to be the last time we hear about this. So anybody who has these kinds of environments has to think about it.
Right, and it's interesting in that, it's one of the things that shows how creative and out of the box thinking hackers are going to be and always are. Right, you think you say, okay, well, if a hacker puts something up on a malicious website, I'm just going to block that website and we're done. Right, I don't need to worry about it. But in this particular case, the hacker then uses an online IDE where where anybody could be on it, writing code and doing things, and they decide to host their malicious files, and that's programs up there as well. So you just got to be careful as to what you click on and the sites that you might be visiting.
And you may trust that site.
Right.
Sure, absolutely. You may absolutely trust the site. And honestly, the indicators of compromise that you may be looking for in an organization, so threat hunters who work for an organization will look for things like what are the websites or what are the sites or IP addresses our company is communicating with. And if you see Russia, okay, yeah, that's bad. Disconnect it. I mean, unless you work with Russia, but
No one does anymore.
We love Russian people. I eat
We
borscht
do.
every day. It's
I think it's on the keto diet. I'm almost
Yeah.
positive.
I eat chicken Kiev. Oh, wait a minute.
That's not. Yeah, that's Russian adjacent.
Yeah. Sorry.
On that note,
Awkward.
Anyways.
Cracking up.
awkward. So if you're looking for these indicators of compromise, you're looking for sites that might be malicious. Like this is one of the ways that attackers are just going to try and hide behind valid traffic. We've talked in the past
Right.
about DNS, right? And using DNS traffic to hide behind. This is another way, using valid IDEs up on a website.
Right. Yeah. Scary. All right. So what is the average computer user to do with this story? Anything?
Well, this is probably more hacker advice.
career criminal
using.
advice. No,
You
that
can't
is
use
not.
that one.
You can't. We're going to get
use that.
sued now by
We are.
Lucasfilm. Thanks,
And
Patrick.
Disney. I don't need Disney suing us.
What this is all parody, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a comedy show. No, it's a security show. No, it's a comedy show.
So moral of the story there is, honestly, if you're noticing a lot of traffic to these online IDEs and you don't employ a lot of developers, and very well maybe that it's malicious and you just don't notice it. So
Interesting.
keep an eye out.
Keep an eye on your developers, man.
Oh yeah, those are the
Developers
shady,
Well,
are the
and if you're-
shifty
bunch
people.
of jerks.
And if you're a user of it, a valid
Right.
user of it, be wary that if you get something from that URL, they may have tricked the
Sure.
underlying system to send you something or share something.
yeah.
Just be careful. It's a dangerous environment. Any place where the user can manipulate the input or change settings or write code, it's kind of a dangerous environment. You have to pay attention.
Yeah.
So there's a little theme here. I think we're not talking about this last story till later, but
Yeah, you've been singing it the whole show.
Yeah, Patrick.
you want me to do it again?
Yeah.
I'll do it
No.
again.
Please
No.
don't. Please don't.
There's a theme. I'd like to move one story forward, which is the big fish, the one about
okay.
subverting MFA.
Yes.
So Microsoft says that more than 10,000 orgs in the past 9 months have been phished in a way that steals credentials so that it gets around MFA, multi-factor authentication. Now, we've been singing the praise of multi-factor authentication a lot because
Yep.
it is a really good way to go.
Yep.
But you should understand that there is a way around everything. This is just harder to pull off. You steal a session cookie, and the session cookie is only issued after the MFA and after the password and after all of them. It's a bypass of authentication, and bypasses of authentication get you past MFA. So MFA is not a silver bullet. It's important. It's part of defense in depth. But I think that's the same kind of, we're talking about these ideas that you have the security. Dwayne, you talked about it when you talked about the IDE, the online program. People feel like, oh, I'm safe because I've done this before and this works. This isn't a threat until a hacker figures out how to turn it into a threat.
Yeah. Well, and I think what's interesting about this is this attack only works if you enable the convenience option. So if you say, hey, every time when I log in with MFA, remember me for 30 days. Don't ask me again, because it's obnoxious for me to pull my phone out and look for that.
What could go digits.
Wrong? Exactly. So as soon as you do that, as soon as you enable that convenience, like Patrick has always said, at that point you're compromising security, right? And how could that go wrong, right? So now you have this cookie that has full access to your accounts that could be stolen easily by another piece of malware sitting on your operating system or something else you've downloaded, etc. Now at this point, that cookie can access other sites. So
that's the way the cookie crumbles.
So yeah, be careful.
See what I did there?
Well done.
All right, so Microsoft is back in the news this week or last week.
I have such sadness and happiness for this article. It's internal turmoil, really.
And it's all about macros, Office macros that we've talked about as a great vector through which people can be phished to click on things, to open Office documents that have macros, which are little programs, and then they can do all sorts of crazy, horrible things to you. Or awesome, as Dwayne likes to say.
Awesome. Thanks.
What's your vector, Victor?
Right. Usually VBA.
There's one person listening that got it, and it was Patrick. Microsoft rolls back decision to block Office macros by default. What are they thinking?
This is crazy. Yeah, well, no, and it's crazy because, the three of us have applauded them earlier this year. We were like, yes, thank you. It's been a decade of Office users getting compromised.
Does that mean I download an Excel spreadsheet and it comes up automatically in editing mode disabled? Is that like an Office macro disabled by default, or can macros still run?
That's like an Office. Yeah, no, macros will no longer be automatically blocked. They won't have the pop-up that says, hey, there's some sort of malicious thing in the back, or there's code in this Excel spreadsheet. It's just automatically enabled. And it's Microsoft has been surprisingly quiet about this. They're just like, So they
didn't have a reason?
Nothing to see here.
Nothing to see. Yeah, we're just decided that's a bad idea. And we're not entirely sure why.
So they don't have a reason?
Well, word on the street is Microsoft is pandering to enterprise corporations. So enterprise corporations have put tons of time and money and development hours into creating massive amounts of documents and Excel spreadsheets with code that do computations and that sort of stuff. And now they're like, hey, you're telling us every single one of our users is going to have to click enable every single time they open one of these? No, we're not going to allow it. Don't do that. And Microsoft then is rolling back and saying, you know what? You're right. Let's not do that. But I think
isn't that something that an enterprise can issue as a policy through of their Windows machines? So why don't they just do that?
That is a fine point, Carl.
Because it's not convenient.
It's not easy for the large enterprise. Where does Microsoft make most of their money? From the from the small guy at home with Office that they probably
well, they
not.
Certainly don't make it from Windows anymore.
No.
Yeah,
nope.
But Office is still a big moneymaker for them.
But only from the enterprise. Like you get Office 365 for, all of us that are using that may install that locally. It's, comes out to what, $100 a year, $200 a year. It's not that much in comparison to, you take someone with 90,000 end users, they're paying quite a bit for Office. So
I just don't understand that. I they could have basically rolled out a Windows update that, for enterprises, that would be a one-click enterprise-wide policy to
There's many ways
allow-
they could have handled it.
Yeah,
but they
there's so
decided
many
they're
ways.
politically expedient.
Oh my
Yeah.
God.
Yeah. Yeah. And now I think what you're going to see
Boo.
is a lot of the home users, small to medium business users are going to get screwed in essence because they don't have the time to go in. And now in essence, what Microsoft has said is, hey, listen, instead of the big organizations having to spend time to put out a policy to enable macros, we're going to force all the little organizations to put out a policy to disable them. And the little organizations are like, hey, we don't have dedicated Office policy guys, right? Big organizations do. They should be the ones who have to do this. So yeah, it's an interesting problem, but I think unfortunately we're going to see a lot more malware being deployed now that Office is an open playground again.
Well, we have a title for our show. Has Microsoft lost their mind? I don't know. I have no more words. I'm going to leave it there.
No, honestly. And you know what? You give them the kudos, and then they take it back. They do the wrong thing.
How do you untake kudos?
I don't know.
Hey, guys, ask me what kind of car I have.
Hey, Carl.
Yeah?
What kind of car do you have?
I have a Honda.
Do you now?
I used to. I just traded it in after reading this next story. Hackers can unlock Honda cars remotely in rolling pwn attacks.
Rolling pwn.
Rolling pwn.
This is awesome. Okay. So we're going to see a lot more of these style of attacks coming up, especially because Black Hat and DEF CON this year, the US Black Hat and DEF CON are coming up. And there's always new auto attacks that happen during that time. So that's happening in the next couple of weeks. But this one's very interesting. Okay, so I have a Honda as well, Carl.
Yeah.
And it's much, much older. It's about 14 years old.
Wow.
So my Honda, when you press the lock and unlock button on your key fob.
Yeah. Just trying to do the math and how old my Honda is. It's probably about 10 years old anyway. Sorry.
Okay, so yours is a little bit newer. So what happens when you push that unlock and lock button, it sends a code to your car, right? And tells it to either unlock or lock the car. Now, if it was always the same exact code, super easy for a hacker to break in, right?
Right.
All I need to do is record that code with a $20 SDR, software-defined radio device. Usually those things, like I said, you can buy them on Amazon for about $20. You plug it into the USB port on your computer, has a little antenna. In essence, click record, push the button, the key fob button to open the car, and then you could replay that, right? So if the code never changed, you could just replay the code.
That's been around for a while. I remember there was a thing in the early aughts with the Priuses because they were some of the first cars to have the RFID openers. Yep. And you could actually start the car with your laptop.
Yep.
Yeah, that's part of this problem as well. The big problem, if you really trace it down, is that they have a bad reset because when you stop and start the system, lock and unlock the door several times. I don't know how many times exactly. It resyncs and past keys will work. But pseudo-randomness is also the problem. You need real randomness.
Exactly. Because the problem with this system is they said, well, listen, we can't send the same code over and over again. We can't send the number 1 to unlock and the number 2 to lock. That'd be stupid.
Right.
And that's Ford's plan, so I wouldn't.
Right. 1 and 2. So they started to shift these numbers based on this pseudo-randomness that Patrick was talking about. But here's a problem. What if I'm 5 miles away from my car and I have my keys in my pocket and I accidentally hit the open or accidentally hit the close button? Wow. What happens? Well, the key fob thinks the car received it, so it shifts to the next code in the sequence. Well, now when you go to your car and press lock or unlock, your car wouldn't listen to it, right? Because your car's like, hey, you're not in the same sequence as I am. So you can reset that by hitting open and close, open and close. And at that point, both the key fob and the car sync together again. The problem being now an attacker can record the open and close and just play it twice. And at that point, they're now in sync with your car and can open the car as well. So, you know what's the worst part of this exploit, though, gentlemen?
What?
Honda's response.
Oh, what is it?
Guess what Honda said?
Does it works as designed?
Works on my desktop.
Honda
Works
says,
on my computer.
Honda says, we don't see an issue here. It's not a problem. The report seems unreliable. Best of luck. Yeah.
Wow.
I wonder if they all drive Hondas. I'm thinking maybe they don't.
Maybe.
Not a lot of dog
probably.
fooding going on at Honda.
They're like, it'd be great, but we don't have a car to test it with, so sorry.
Executive.
All been stolen out of the lot.
Picture the executive at a briefing, covers the mic and says, "Does Bentley have this problem?" No, not a problem.
Works as designed.
Oh my God. Not a good response. That's kind of like a, no, it's not. That's kind of the response.
I know you are, but what am I?
No, you are. What am I? You're a liar.
The only consolation here is that they can't drive the car away because it still does require the key fob to be in proximity. But they can open the car. They can take anything inside they want without your car.
I have a workaround.
What's that?
Just leave it unlocked.
Tomahawks.
But set up a tripwire. Or
like
you could just fill the car with either bees or Dobermans.
Oh, you know what?
Jeez.
You know what I would do is I would get a little Raspberry Pi that does motion detection.
Yes.
And you basically turn it on when you leave the car, and if it did, as soon as somebody enters the car and it detects motion or human or whatever, it would say, "This car will self-destruct in 60 seconds."
Carl, I'm going to build one of those just for you. I'm going to build one.
And what's great is that, you pick up your mom, right, and take her to, because she can't get around. You take her to the store, and she gets in. "This car will self-destruct."
And what you have to do is you have to find out what Picard's self-destruct sequence was in the last movie, and that has to be stated to shut it off the countdown.
Yes.
Oh, I don't want it to actually explode. I mean, Patrick, this was a joke.
Yeah,
but to
so
Patrick,
Patrick
he's
took it
like,
to that-
"Hey, this is a good idea."
And he took it to that next level.
He took it
He's
to the
like, and
next
then
level.
you take the C4.
I
and
just
you put
want
it
a
next to the
recording.
Raspberry Pi.
You know what? Semtech is much more reliable.
Every 10
Patrick.
seconds, "This car will self-destruct in 30 seconds."
Claymores are so Vietnam era. You want to go with Semtech.
Thanks for that, Patrick.
All right, well, maybe my next car will be a Subaru or something.
There you go.
What could go wrong?
Right.
So, what else can we say about Microsoft other than Office?
Today.
And
No,
the fact
we
that
can't.
they lost their mind.
The open source of the SBOM. I haven't seen that. That was actually new to me.
SBOM?
Yeah. So in the wake of Log4j, actually, isn't that one of our articles that Microsoft open sourced their SBOM software?
Salus
It is.
bill
It is.
of software
Yeah.
materials.
So they basically, here's the idea: an SBOM. Let's just talk about bill of materials.
SBOM.
If you had
Yes.
a refrigerator and found out that certain condensers were starting fires, you'd want to know if that condenser was used in your refrigerator, your dryer, your washer, your washing machine, all those things.
Yeah.
So the BOM, the bill of materials, tells you the components that were used to assemble that thing. And
Right.
SBOM is a software equivalent. So when we come out with a warning like Log4j, this is a real big deal. Well, Log4j is not a product that people use as an end product. It's a component that software developers use to build their products.
Right.
And so on the surface, you can't tell whether your CRM, your set-top box, your video cameras in your conference room, you can't tell if any of them have Log4j, so you need an SBOM. And so there's a major push. MITRE is going to release theirs at Black Hat. But an SBOM is the new hotness. It's the new thing that everybody's going to be doing because what it does is it gets us ready for the next Log4j.
Okay.
So when it happens, people can say, "Oh, let me look at our SBOM to see what our exposure is," instead of people 9 months later being, "I guess we're secure, or maybe we're secure." Right now, there's still a lot of companies that don't know what their exposure is for Log4j, and they're just holding their breath. It would be great if we could get this in place, and Log4j is the impetus for that. Well, Microsoft has an SBOM solution, and they're open sourcing it.
Yeah,
which means
great.
that people can use it.
So they haven't completely lost their mind just on that whole Office thing.
Right. Right. Well, and one of the things I really like about this, actually, there's a couple things I like about this. One, they're actually using the software package data exchange format. So it's a standard format for logging this type of information, which is fantastic.
Are they logging it with Log4j?
Irony. I'll be here all week. It works on Windows, Linux, and Mac. So it's not like, it's just for Windows. We're only protecting our ecosystem. Everybody else can go screw. And it also auto-detects NPM, NuGet, PyPy, CocoaPods, Maven, Golang, Rust, Ruby gems, Linux packages, Gradle, Ivy, GitHub, etc., etc., etc. So
you could have inserted like 5 cereals in that list, and most people wouldn't know. Lucky Charms,
right?
Frosted Flakes,
Cocoa Crisp. So what's nice about this is it sounds like Microsoft's actually put quite a bit of effort into this open source tool, and I'm sure others, as it's an open source tool, to try and help with this issue. So kudos to them. I'm sure next week they'll decide not to do it, just like blocking macros.
They're not going to open source Office, though, are they? No.
No.
I mean, there's four mentions of 3 stories that mention Microsoft. 4 of them actually. The big push, the one about the patching, the rolling back. It's a big Microsoft day.
It is a big Microsoft week.
Let's talk about the patching.
Yeah, see, this is another feather in Microsoft's cap. Although I don't know if it's a feather in their cap. When you create bugs and then you fix those bugs, is that a good thing? Like, I know it's a good thing.
It's a good thing to fix bugs.
It's better than
But do you get accolades for fixing the bugs you created?
It's better than Honda.
No, I don't think so. It's just a thank you very much for patching.
Right.
Yeah.
So
thank you for doing literally the least you could do.
Right. Well, they can't go back in time. I mean, this isn't Dr. Who.
Write better code.
Yeah, I can't do that.
We're just crotchety. Get off my lawn.
Get off my lawn.
Get off my code report. Get off my ID.
You see, this is what happens when you don't use good software practices. So Patch Tuesday fixes exploited 0-day and or with 84 flaws. It doesn't
and
say.
84 flaws, I believe.
84
so
flaws.
52 privilege escalation flaws, 4 security feature bypasses, 12 remote code executions, 11 information disclosures, and 5 denial of services, which is probably the worst.
Blue screen of
I was going to say, it's probably the worst Christmas song ever.
Can you guys please talk directly to my sister-in-law who is still running Windows Vista? Please.
Do you want me to send her a Word doc?
What do you say?
What's your IP address?
What's their IP address? You could totally just blow it up.
Well, yeah, we just get rid of it.
Right.
All right. Look, this is you just heard that in July 2022 there was a 0-day exploit and 84 bugs that were patched. If you're still running Vista, you are risking serious.
Oh yeah.
If you're running Vista,
theft.
Let's just be clear. You're not running that system anymore.
No.
Yeah.
Someone else is running that system.
Right.
Yeah.
You might be lucky and a crypto miner has taken it over who's going to watch over you.
Right.
But someone has taken over that system.
Yeah, if your computer's running a little slow, you'll know why. Yep.
Okay, so the last one, I guess, is Elastix.
Elastix. Yes.
ELASTIX, and it's a VoIP, voice over IP system. So these systems were hacked in a massive campaign to install PHP web shells. I know this is acronym soup, but PHP is a language for programming websites.
Yep,
Yeah.
and a web shell is loosely defined as just a PHP page that usually a malicious actor writes and uploads to your site that gives them the ability to run things you wouldn't want them to run. So it could be viewing files on the hard drive and running commands. It could be what are called reverse shells, initiating reverse shells, which will have a shell connect back to the attacker so that they literally have a command prompt or a terminal on your web server.
Wow.
So yeah, it's one of the things you never want is is a web shell that's been installed on your server because that means somebody else has pretty high level access.
You know, you should also not get them at bobsdiscountwebshells.com.
Bob's
Just
quality's
like-
gone down.
Just like the Shark Tanks.
Yeah, bobsdiscountsharkcages.com. I think that was a Far Side cartoon.
That's awesome.
It's like, I knew we shouldn't have got these at Bob's Discount Shark Cages.
And I'm going to get us sued. I'm the one that's getting us sued.
Yeah,
You guys,
you're gonna get an email from Bob,
Yeah, well, at least there's no theme song.
right?
Remember,
Right,
next
Patrick?
week, if the stars align, we will have the career criminal advice, or criminal career advice theme song.
I love that. You know what? Then I'll definitely have a couple career criminal advice tidbits.
what style will it be? Is it going to be orchestral or techno?
You will
or
have
what?
to tune in to
Yeah,
find out, my
right?
friend.
Is it gonna be,
You can't-
Is it going to be dubstep? Ma.
I'm surprised you even know what dubstep is.
Right? Way to
I'm
go.
cool.
Cracker.
I'm cool. So when my daughters were younger, I used to, their friends, especially the guys, would.
I don't know that you can say this story. No, good.
No, they would. No, not that story. They would teach me the lingo, the kids' lingo, and I
Right.
would use it in front of my daughters and mortify them.
Just a
I almost choked Carl right there.
well done.
That's
You
great.
succeeded as a parent, Patrick.
So I'd turn to them, and when they said something or they were upset, I'd say, "Why are you straight tripping?"
Slay.
And all the kids just cringed who are listening
know.
to this.
Yeah, when you're 50, I was like 45 at the time. 50.
Well, you know, I
Super
remember
young.
you told me a story, Patrick, or what you used to do with your daughter when she was really young. She might have been 3. You'd be at a party or something, and you'd say, "Hey, watch this," and he'd put his fingers together, 8 fingers, 4 on each hand, and he'd either hold a finger up or put it down, and he'd say, "What's this?" And she'd say, "128."
Binary. She knew
In
binary.
binary.
New binary.
Hey, watch
Yeah.
this. My daughter
He was
speaks
programming his
binary.
children in binary.
Well,
which, you know,
I was shaming my nephews who I was trying to teach binary, and they were like, "It's hard." Actually, that's
not
the
hard.
story. Is
Watch this.
That's the story. Is my daughter was turning 5, and my nephew was like 10 years older than her. And he's like, it's hard. I'm studying for this, and it's hard to understand. I'm like, oh, really? And I go like this to my daughter. I said, look, 8 bits,
4
lower
fingers.
bit, high bit. What's this? She says 128. I said, what's that? 127. I'm like, is it really? And I turn to him, and he's like, he
Is it
just
really
drops
that
his
hard?
head and walks away.
But you
Don't look that hard.
just like it was just like a rote memorization with her. Just there's two
I
different
set him up.
configurations. And
oh yeah.
I just told her the 2 answers that I was going to show her. But then, because I'm cruel. I'm very cruel.
That
So mean.
is awesome, though.
Patrick, so mean.
It's great.
Oh, it's not as mean as you and I when we did that we spoke at Tech Ed many years ago, and we had Richard Campbell and Stephen Forte start the session as
that
us.
was awesome.
And then we walked in and challenged their credentials.
It was an identity management and credential session. So
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and Stephen picked up my ID from the table and said, "See, I'm Patrick Hines." And then somebody stood up and said, "You just picked that up off the table." And we got the whole crowd
oh my god,
into
the
it.
crowd I think was going to mob them. Like,
And so the
only
only way we could prove our identity is we advanced the slides to our pictures, and then we're like, "See," and then they left in disgrace.
That's great. And on that note, I think have we talked about elastics?
We
Yes, I
haven't.
guess
No.
we did. No,
We did not. No, we talked a little bit about web shells. Here's the deal.
All right.
I'm going to break this down real quick. Elastic's VoIP is a voice over IP system, like Carl had said. So
Yeah.
think voice calls.
Yeah.
There is a massive push right now attacking these systems because there is a remote code execution where an attacker has the ability to deploy a PHP web shell. It has, in the report on Friday, threat actors have deployed more than 500,000 unique samples in this family of attacks. So just know that if you're running this system right now, if you're running an Elastic's VoIP, you absolutely want to make sure that it's patched because CVE 2021-45461 is a CVE rating of 9.8 out of 10. And remember, we said The higher, the more devastating, the more awesome. This one is almost perfect awesome. So you want to make sure you're patched.
Yeah. Okay. So it's an old story. Patch, and by the way, patch.
And
Don't
if you
run
think you're patched,
Vista.
go patch. And don't run Vista. And don't run Vista.
Did you hear that, Danielle? Don't
New
run
system.
Vista.
No Vista.
No
No
Vista
Vista.
for you.
Well, upgrading your system's the ultimate patch.
It is. Well, yeah. Absolutely.
All right. And on that note, we finally brought this miserable hour to an end. Oh, only 40 minutes.
Right?
Yeah.
We're
So
speed delivering today.
We're fast.
Now you got 20
Right.
minutes to, do whatever else you were going to do. Like go
Take
to
20 minutes out of petty cash.
Go to a go to a remote IDE and create a denial of service attack.
Everyone listening should go learn binary.
Right. Wow. You're that old, Patrick. Everybody
am.
talk to me in binary.
Are you All right, guys. We'll see you next week.
Thanks,
Bye.
guys.
Bye bye.